Okay, good evening, everyone. It is June the 15th. We are officially in the second to last week of the crazy season here over at Scouching and NHL level enterprises, I guess you could say. Welcome to the show. I'm the host, Will. Nothing really has gone on in the last few days. I mean, it definitely hasn't been one of the most insane periods of the last couple days for sports I can remember in a long time. You know, you have the Knicks winning the Stanley Cup. You have the Knicks winning the Ed O'Brien Trophy. You have Cape Verde tying Spain today. You have Belgium and Egypt tying today. Currently, I believe Saudi Arabia is beating Uruguay at the World Cup. Switzerland tied Qatar. It's been all over the place. It's been so much fun to watch sports. Oh, and also the Carolina Hurricanes are Stanley Cup champions, eh? How about that? What a game last night. What a few games from the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, very quickly have become just one of the most excellent stories. I mean, that series was, I would say, one of the best shorter Stanley Cup series I can remember. Felt like last one just wasn't meant to go Vegas's way, especially once that third goal went in. That was obviously a bit of the nail in the coffin there. But oh my God, what a team, what a finish. I don't know how you don't cheer for those guys. Unbelievable, and they deserve it. I know a lot of people there, more people I thought. I actually was sending text messages to people I know there and congratulating them, and there are more people who work there than I thought that I know, and so they deserve it. Obviously I'm biased, but they deserve it. They've been through so much, and just such an unbelievable group of players, and the way that they play, and the coach Rod the Bod. I mean, he's still got it. We all saw those photos, right? We still got it. What a guy. But anyway, very pumped for them. Obviously, Vegas gave them a good run, but it just wasn't meant to be. But also, yeah, so anyway, we do have things to talk about on the show. Notably, number one, it's our last week of reports. So tomorrow, we got the best of the rest coming out, which will come out at noon tomorrow. Goes through, I think, 7 guys that didn't get a full report and just kind of wanted to cover them. And then the last 2 on Wednesday and Friday, we're doing Stenberg and Stenberg and McKenna. If you're a subscriber over at scouching.ca, by the way, now's a good time to do it, because from now until the end of the second round or the end of the weekend of the draft, we're doing a 25% off sale, your first payment, whether it's annual or monthly, over at scouching.ca. So if you were looking at dipping your toe in, now's the time to do it. I don't sell a draft guide or anything, so this is your way to pay for a draft guide in a way. But anyway, yeah, we're doing 25% off. That also extends to merch. So if you go to scouchwear.com, those discounts should be automatically applied. If they're not, please let me know and I will fix them. But I double checked this morning and they seem to be functioning. But anyway, yeah, so we're doing 25% off everything for the next couple of weeks. I was on the train the other day on the way into the city, and I found my own advertisement on Reddit, which was really interesting. By the way, if you're a business owner, advertising on Reddit is very easy to do, and I would say very good. Just going to throw that out there. But yeah, the last 2 reports are coming out this week. And then next week, we have all of the live streams for next week are already scheduled, and they're already on the channel, so you can set your reminders to join me. Monday night, we're doing the community mock draft. And tonight, you can officially register. If you are interested, we have 21 spots left. So we had a few subscribers sign up. A few other people wanted to get in there. And so, yes, you can use the form that I have just put in chat to register. It starts, I'll put a tweet out as well, so you can, think about it and come back. I'll put it out on my YouTube community panel tomorrow as well. So if you want to join, it's a lot of fun. It's a week tonight, and it'll be at 8:30 p.m. But, I mean, the idea is that you show up before that point so that we can, herd the cats until 8:30. from 8 o'clock, and then off we go. Everybody gets 3 picks. It's not NHL. We're just everybody's getting the same number of picks. Randomized order. The order will be randomized the day of, because obviously that's when all the usernames will be finalized and everything. The registrations will come in. If you do register and you are past the 31st person to register, you are going to be put on a reserve, and it will be in priority of the time you sign. So if you are interested and you don't get in, I will email you, and if you're still interested, show up, be there, because generally 2 to 3, 4 people just decide not to show up. Or my favorite, I think last year we had someone who left after the first round, and that was unfortunate. Please don't do that, by the way. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's a week tonight. It's coming up real fast. Tomorrow is, or not tomorrow, the Tuesday we're doing the rankings. The final rankings drop on next Tuesday. We're locking those in over the course of this week. This is the list on that you see is not totally finalized, but it's pretty much going to look like this. So for all of you people who are, interested, you can screen cap now, but it's gone now. And we will we'll replace that with something else, maybe a shrine to Eric Tulsky, maybe just a picture of Logan Stankoven hoisting the Stanley Cup. But anyway, Tuesday, the final rankings will drop. Again, subscribers will get access to the write-up when I'm done it this week. So you'll get the access to that through your blog on your account or through the Discord server, where links to the blog will be in there as well. And the ranking will also be posted in there as well. And then Thursday night, we're doing a little party. We're having a little pre-draft party, a little last-minute Q&A, last-minute fun before the big event. And then Friday night, we're streaming the draft. Saturday morning, right back at it. And then Monday is the recap. And I believe, we'll be doing a NHL free agency show on the 1st as well on Canada Day. But the details of that aren't fully fleshed out, and I'm not sure what that will look like, but we'll put that up there when it is ready to go. But for now, we're focused on the draft, and we're having fun. It's, today I put away my tracking device. I have a device that I use to track my data with, and I officially put it away today. We're done, which is pretty incredible. I think we got up to just over 600 games this year, which is a little lower than last year, not going to lie. But this year I was doing a lot more editing work than I usually do, and a lot more videos and all that stuff. So I forgive myself for that. But I feel pretty good. There are a few guys I think I didn't get to, a few guys I didn't get to see enough of. And, I'm only one person. I'm only mortal. I'm only capable of so much. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's just the way she goes. But we're done. And now it's just writing mode. The mock draft, I wrote it this weekend, and today it's done. It's now available for subscribers as well. So if you want to read my first round mock draft, now's the time to do it. If you want to read it before everybody else gets it next week. And then, what else? We're right into it here. This is it. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. Well, Team Scouching having the first overall pick this year is it's a tough call. And I would be very fascinated to see what goes on in that room for the teams at the top about this year's draft class. Side note, and then I'll get into the questions. I will. Side note, I also have to give a shout out, because it is some of the best content for draft geeks in the whole world. And it is, I believe, genuinely, it is worth every penny if you're a real big nerd like I am. The Hockey Prospect Black Book, I've bought it. I think this is my 3rd year in a row. It is filled with quotes from reports and from NHL scouts. They're anonymized, but tons of information on tons of different players that they've done stuff on. So if you're really interested in that, it's worth it, because holy smokes, some of the stuff in there is pretty wild, and it is a roaring adventure. I will tell you that much. But everybody is entitled to their own opinion. We'll see where the chips fall. It's totally fine. I read it because I genuinely really think it is valuable and it is very interesting to see. I'll tell you this much. I'm not going to tell you the quotes or anything specific, but the theme that I picked up on from pretty much almost every player they're talking about in the first round, NHL scouts, at least the ones that they're talking to, do not like this draft. So take that for what you will, but it seems like people are very sketched out by this class. You can read for yourself if it's worth it. Go pick it up if you're interested, but there's some good stuff in there, and it's worth flipping through. Anyway, chat. Am I a Twitch streamer now? Is that how the Twitchers do it? They go, hey, chat, should I jump off this bridge or something? And they go, anyway. Logan Stankoven, Stanley Cup champion. Who would have thought? Who could have thought? Interesting. Boy, what a guy. Still kicking myself I didn't put him higher on my list. I think I had him at 14. And I remember at that draft class going like, man, he's really good. Yeah. Can you finally admit you secretly worked for the Carolina Hurricanes and got a ring? I mean, if I did, you would know. I would not hide it. That's for sure. But no, I do not work for the Carolina Hurricanes. They already have enough. They have enough people smarter than me. I think they're okay. They've got enough going on there. They don't need me. But you know, a lot of them do think kind of like me. But they are the organization that, you know, I listened to 32 Thoughts today, and it's so funny how quickly things can change, because Elliot Friedman was like, I gotta wonder how many NHL teams are looking at guys like Tulsky and guys like Tyler Dello and guys like, you know, and going, you know what? Like, they have gone to a lot of conference finals and they did just win the Stanley Cup. Like, maybe there's something to this. and maybe we will see some pivoting. And he goes, well, maybe you see some of these guys getting picked off from that front office and offered jobs elsewhere. And maybe that's something that happens. But, you know, he's like, those people are all there, and they're all Stanley Cup champions. I still can't believe it. I mean, I can, because they've done such a good job over the years doing what they do. But man, crazy times. The team that picked up guys like Jake Gensel and Mikko Rantanen and it didn't work, they ended up with Logan Stankoven and it did work. Imagine that, eh? I wonder if there's something to that. Something about playoff games and being good in the playoffs. I don't know. I feel like there's something there that, you know, like maybe the guys in the regular season that show up are sometimes maybe not the guys in the playoffs that you want, you know? Like maybe those are just the... I don't know. I am being facetious, and it is one of those days. Feeling pretty good today. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Feeling pretty good. But anyway, I do not work for Carolina. I apologize. Short players don't win cups. Stankoven laughed at your hype bias. Exactly. I mean, well, look, I mean, he does buck the trend. I'm not gonna lie. There aren't very many 5'8" players that come along that are like Logan Stankoven. Like, we should be clear. Like, my list does not have very many guys that short on it anywhere at all. Right? So, you know, like, let's relax a little bit. He is one of a kind. I think there are maybe others like him, but he is Logan Stankoven. He is the guy. But boy, what a player. And I remember when he got traded to Carolina, when everybody's like Rantanen. I don't know about this one. Like, what did you get? You got a tiny little winger for Rantanen and a bunch of picks. And like now, I don't know. Looks pretty good to me. How much does the scouting brand benefit from the Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup, considering they do a lot of the same moves you do and draft a lot of the same players you do? Well, they don't these days. They don't really draft a whole lot of the same players I do, by and large. Like their draft strategy, I think, has shifted a little bit in recent years, and I don't know if I fully line up with it so much. I mean, they do draft out of Russia a lot, and I over the years I've been more favorable to Russian players, and that automatically puts them higher on my list than most. And then if Carolina sees it that way, then they see it the same way. But I mean, look, I don't know. That's not up to me. It's not up to me. I mean, it makes me feel pretty good, but mostly because like I know people who work there, and like I know what they've gone through, and like I know what being like me is like, and I'm not like the Carolina Hurricanes, but like, you know, there's a reason that that most of the teams don't think like Carolina. I think they're actively resisting it, and I get the feeling that the sense of resisting that is getting a little tough. Elliot Friedman even mentioned like ownership. That ownership is probably going to look at the Carolina Hurricanes and go, how did they make that happen? How did that work? Why did a bunch of ragtag dudes who just are from all around blogging and just doing whatever, how did those guys pull it off? You know? And I'm sure you can explain it away going, oh, well, it's Rod. Oh, it's, you know, oh, well, Jordan Stahl was from before the Tulsky era and blah, 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 blah. And okay, whatever. But like, you know, I think, you know, I don't know. We'll see. But if it benefits, it benefits. I'm just really happy they finally pulled it off because, yeah, talk about starting to get some demons there from their conference final performances in recent years. Do you think Vegas will be in trouble with their older core and lack of picks and prospects? I mean, they find that historically speaking, to this point, they find a way. I mean, watching them play, like they kind of earned their way to a Stanley Cup final in a way, you know? Like Carter Hart was very good until the Stanley Cup final, and Colorado, they got hurt, but like it's not easy to sweep the Colorado Avalanche regardless of Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. Like that's not an easy team to beat. But I mean, next year everybody is a year older, but like the guys who like when a question like that comes up, I always wonder about like who the best performers on that team were. And I mean, like Thomas Hertl really turned it on, but he's getting up there. Mitch Marner will be just fine. Jack Eichel just fine. We'll see what happens with Mark Stone. But like I think that playing a team like Carolina really exposed how Vegas is like, I see how that's a team that's successful, but then I very easily see how a team like Carolina can get the upper hand against them over time. And I'm sure Vegas was banged up just by the way that they play, and yeah, the fact that they're a little older. But I don't think that's a group that will be very interested in tearing it all down. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're going to ride the Eichel-Marner pair into the ground as long as they can. Like, they're going Doug Wilson style, I think. At least that's what I would do if I were them. You just went through so much to get all these guys, and you've won a cup, but, like, you just almost won another one. You're Vegas, let it ride. You know, you're Vegas, just let it ride. Your number didn't come up, but you still have some good players. And it'll be difficult. It is not easy to do it, I think. But look, I mean, look at the guys that were on that team that got to a cup final. Like, look at that group of defensemen. Like Dylan Coughlin was playing in a Stanley Cup final game. Like, Braden McNabb was playing like 30 minutes a night. Like, if back in Braden McNabb's days with Buffalo, if I told you that was going to be his future, would you have believed me? Probably not. You know, top pair guy on a Stanley Cup finalist team in Vegas, Nevada, right? Like, really? But here we are. Strange things happen all the time. A lot of it just comes down to how you use your players, how you deploy them. They even talked about that last night a little bit. It's like with Carolina, a lot of their success stems from identifying what players do well and putting them in a role to do it well. Like Taylor Hall is a great example of that. He was awesome. Like that was like vintage Taylor Hall going on right there for a long stretch of that playoff run. I don't know. This being a copycat league, what will teams try to take away from Carolina as it relates to prospects in the draft? Well, not a lot of Carolina guys that they drafted were on that team, right? There weren't a lot of them, let's be honest. It was Jackson Blake, and that's it, right? Like, they didn't draft Stankoven. They've had Jordan Stahl for a while. Aho, I guess they have Aho, but he's been there a decade. I'm trying to think, like, who else have they added? I don't know the answer to that. I need to look it up. But they have Jarvis. Yeah, Seth Jarvis. That's a good one. Svechnikov. But again, like Svechnikov was 8 years ago. I didn't think Nikishin was a huge difference maker for them. Like they picked Jacobs. Like they've hit on guys over the years, like, and that makes a huge difference. Like if you just draft, like, but from what I remember, Jackson Blake, like I know for a fact that not even Carolina expected this out of him so quickly, but here we are. Like that's just, you struck gold. I know Jarvis, like that one was easy, right? Like he was the guy ranked one slot after Amarov, right? But yeah, like you're talking about collecting guys from, once every other year, pretty much on average here. Like not like they signed a lot of these guys. Sean Walker, like Keandre Miller was a trade. Martinook a draft pick? But they brought in Carrier, they brought in Gostisbehere. Kotkaniemi was Kotkaniemi. He didn't play, but they signed Ehlers. Like it's kind of a mix. So I don't think it's that simple. But I mean, I do know that like people are kind of baffled that other teams haven't tried to be a little more like Carolina when it comes to amassing talent, and using your draft picks on, like, Carolina, from what I know, is very focused on probabilities. What's the probability that this play? Like, is there a bigger probability that this skilled winger will play in the NHL over this big hulking defenseman that everybody wants? Probably. So let's just take the skilled guy. Is there a 5% chance that this guy that's available in the third round could be an 80-point scorer one day? If we can make that case, is that player valuable? Yes. Like that's the strategy. And like, could other teams take that strategy? I mean, I guess. Sure. I think Calgary's kind of doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a 1-to-1. Like I don't think it's how I would totally go about it. But boy, like it seems to be doing interesting stuff for them. That's for sure. But I don't know. I will say too, it's better than it was. That type of thing. It's better than it was. Back when I was a kid and back when I was younger, like it was a little bit out of control. The whole draft strategy thing. It was a little bit, it kind of still is, but by and large, like, I don't know. But if there's anything Carolina has illustrated, it's also that you don't have to sell the farm. I mean, but having a great farm gives you a lot of tools to acquire other guys. And I think that's 95% of the reason you draft players is you draft players to fill gaps in your lineup later. But I mean, yeah, like it's just a lot of just strong, solid, just you hit on a couple of picks and the whole game past a certain point is you're throwing darts. The more darts you have, the more likely you're going to hit a bullseye. And I think Carolina just has a really good way of going, okay, how do we throw the dart so that we're closest to the bullseye as we can possibly get? Whereas a lot of other teams seem to just go, at this point, who cares? Just close my eyes and we'll see what happens. Who knows, right? Like, who knows? And they think, like, they're like, oh, yeah, I'll hit the bullseye if I just do that and close my eyes, When looking at Stenberg and McKenna, if you could merge them together into one player, how good would they be? They'd be incredible. You'd probably want a player that's a little more physical. You'd probably want a player that's a little more physical. You would want, like, but other than that, I mean, he'd be a pretty darn good skater with unbelievable skill and remarkable smarts and just offensive generation machine. If he didn't have the puck, he'd be going to the net and hunting for chances, and yeah, like, it would be awesome. It would be awesome. It's pretty unique how Carolina was still able to stick to their system after past shortcomings in the Eastern Conference Final. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, that's the part of this that I think they need to be. That's the part that I hope that NHL teams really focus on, is that, like, I think something that matters so much in managing a hockey team is, like, you have an understanding of what you're supposed to play like. Your coach understands and is on the same page. Your scouting staff, your development staff, your pro scouts, like, they all, like, there's a goal. There's a mission statement of, like, this is the way we want to play the hockey. We have our identity. This is what we want, and we know it can work, right? Like, it's possible that this can work, and we can articulate why. Like, I have that, right? And I'm sure Carolina does too. And your thought process has to be, you do what you know, right? You know, it's like, if you're really good at writing dramas as a book or a movie or whatever, and you write a book that fails and isn't as good as the one, or doesn't sell as well as the first or the second or third one you wrote, are you all of a sudden going to go, I'm going to try to write a comedy? Because clearly this isn't working, I'm going to try to write a comedy. And it's like, yeah, but you're not very funny. Like, are you sure you understand what a good joke, like, the structure of a good joke is like? Because, like, I don't know if that's a good, like, stick to, like, try a different angle with a drama, but, like, that's what you're really good at. And you can make tweaks around the perimeter. Like, maybe there's some things that weren't working, and, like, whatever, maybe it'll work. But I think like, I look at Toronto as an example that they had a style, they had a way that they wanted to play. And when it started to show some stringy bits, it started to show some warts, and people started to see where there might be some gaps. They didn't stick with it, and they started messing with the mix and messing with and they ended up this, like, Frankenstein's monster of, like, different play styles and all this stuff. And with Carolina, like, you just kind of just, no matter what in a game, you're just like, they're playing good hockey. They all are buying into this, like, this physical but skilled and hard style of play that is intense. And, like, they may have lost here and there, but they're just sticking to it, you know? Because I feel like if you start to, like, if you've gotten to the point where you're like, I can articulate and identify exactly the sort of strategy that I would want to employ, and I'm willing to push on it, and then it starts to show some mistakes, but you're like, I can still identify the core areas that are working here. It is not, you know, for example, in Montreal, like, the playoffs this year, it is not Lane Hutson's fault that they lost in the playoffs. Like, it isn't Cole Caulfield's fault that they lost in the playoffs. You know, we all saw the chances he was getting. We all saw the opportunities that he was getting. It just wasn't going in, and Montreal had a good run, but that was it. But, like, the point I'm trying to make is, like, that's the lesson I think teams should be learning from. Like, David Carl said it really well when he was interviewed, I think, a year or two ago on a podcast. I don't remember which one. And he's like, I don't want to take an NHL job because the job requirements are not the same. Like, the expectations are that you turn things around immediately, and your clock is, like, 3 years long. But he's like, I would need a program. Like, you need a system. Like, that's the only way you're going to be successful long-term, is a system and a long-term development path and a long-term. And it's like, you have to get an owner that trusts you for that long period of time, you know, and that owner has to believe in what you're doing and trust that they're like, you know what, you probably know more about this than I do. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, but I think that's where teams kind of fall apart. Because, like, how often do we see general managers come in and they're like, all those guys, they're not my guys. All these guys on the team, or all these coaches and development staff that are there when I'm here, they're not my guys, and I got to change things around here. And you can do that, but you're really opening yourself up to a lot of risk. And, like, with Carolina, the evidence was obvious that it was working better. Like, the thing I want to really hammer is that, like, it's not very common that a team goes this deep in the playoffs this many years in a row. Like, what is it, 5 of the last 6 years or something, or 7 years they've been in the conference final and now they're cup winners? Something like that. Like, that to me is like, what other NHL team can you say that about? Vegas, Florida, maybe? Like, over that long period of time, is that a thing that you've seen very often? But it's like, because they didn't win a game in the conference finals, because this, it's like, oh, it wasn't working. It's not working. Maybe something needs to change. And yeah, like so we'll see. I mean, it's I hope that the lesson is that, like, you have to have an identity that, like, makes sense and is not just like, well, we're big and tough and we play hard and we're hard to play against. It's like, no, that's not a strategy. That's an anecdote, right? Like, what's your goal? What's your structure going to be? What's the ideal player for your team, and fill your team with those players and just see what happens. like that's the thing. And that's not an easy thing to do. And it's a lot of trust you have to put in. Like, I find that there's a very fine line. And I remember Lou Lamoriello saying this when he got to Toronto, I think, or was he back with New Jersey? I don't remember. He said that, like, running a team is like an orchestra. And it's like, yes, I agree with you, but, like, I think there's a very fine line between, like, you're an orchestra and you're a jazz band. And, like, you're not getting a jazz pianist to play with your orchestra. But I can go to a jazz club, and I don't want to see an orchestra at a jazz club. I want to see a jazz band, right? I go to the orchestra, and if I see the guy playing the double bass put his bow away, I'm getting up and leaving. In a jazz club, if I see the double bassist pull out the bow, I'm getting up and leaving. I mean, that's an extreme example, but you get my point. Like, they're valid. Each are valid. But, like, if you have an orchestra and your like first violinist is not doing the right stuff, are you going to get on the phone with someone in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and go, hey, I need your best Celtic fiddler? No, probably not. You're going to look for something that fits what you're trying to already accomplish, right? So, like, it's not that I don't like Celtic music. It's not like playing the fiddle out in Nova Scotia is a bad thing. But, like, you do you, I do me. I'll put out my album, you put out yours, and we'll see who wins the Canadian Juno Award or the, whatever. So, yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, and especially to feed it back into the draft, it's like, that's kind of where I kind of get a little bit confused, because, like, I know what people think of me. I know what people think of me. I don't know, but I don't really, I look at other people's work and I kind of just go, okay, like, it's not going to change my mind, but it is, I'll look into it if someone sees something differently or whatever, and that's good, like, that's fine. You'll have to let the chips fall where they may. But it's really fun. It's good to see them succeed, man. They deserve it. Every single person there deserves it. The people I know who are there are smart and inquisitive. And again, like, people who may disagree with me, but give me the time of day and, like, hear me out. I have a lot of respect for that, because I'm not like everybody else. I'm unusual. Very unusual. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy for them. It's great. Any thoughts about live streaming the PWHL draft? That is a very good idea. When is that? I mean, seeing Caroline Harvey get drafted is going to be sick. June 17th? Okay, so it's Wednesday night? Oh, Wednesday afternoon. Oh, wait. Wednesday evening. Okay, 5 p.m. I think I could do that. I'll let you know, but that would be fun. I mean, I will admit, like, my understanding of the women's hockey landscape outside of, like, how much I love Caroline Harvey is limited. So I will admit that. Maybe I could find somebody to have on the show who knows a lot more than I do. Because that might be interesting. Yeah, Caroline Harvey going to Vancouver, I would assume. I think she's going to revolutionize things, man. I think she's that good. I think she's just going to be a star. Might have to get myself to a Golden Eyes game when she comes to town in Toronto. Which Carolina player are you most happy for? For you, Freddie Anderson, Taylor Hall got me in the feels. Honestly, it's Brandon Bussey. Like, the story there is insane. Like, he was working summer jobs and like out of the league and on waivers this year, and now he's like, he won the most important games of the year for any team at all. He was in there, shutout to win the Stanley Cup. Like, that's unbelievable. Like that's just unbelievable. I'll go to the chat. I'll go to. I almost said charts. I'll go to the shorts chat after this. By the way, but like Brandon Bussey probably. If not him, yeah, like Freddie Anderson. Like he's been around forever and injured and down and back and down and back, and yeah, just insane. So he's probably in there too. I mean, yeah, like where would they be without Logan Stankoven? Like a lot of good ones. Could you send what? Oh, could you see Kaman developing offensively and being somewhat akin to Aho? I mean, if you're very optimistic, sure. Like I can see the sort of comparison there with those two. But yeah, like I would maybe if I squint, I say the answer to that is yes. But like Aho played at the men's level, and I found that when Command played above his team in Orebro, that's where I saw a lot of question marks with him. But also, I don't remember watching Aho when he was a draft eligible at all. That was many moons ago and predates me. I'm hoping the Joe Iginla connection has forced Calgary to watch reps of Preston. Based on the discussions out there, he's flying way under the radar. I haven't heard his name once. Who, Joe Iginla or Mathis Preston? Because if you're talking Joe Iginla, like, he's going to be interesting. I bet he gets drafted. Someone will take him because he's a very interesting player. Like, I have him on my watch list for the ranking this year. He's been there pretty much all year. And like he's not there now, right? Like he's not he the way he plays and that his size that he's at and everything like that, like it's just he's not there. And there's a pretty good chance that it just won't be there cuz he needs to grow like vertically and physically. And I wouldn't be very interested if he was a year older, right? Like if he was a November baby from 2007, I would be a lot more questioning of him, but he's one of the youngest guys in the draft, and based on the way that he plays and the fact that his brother's big and his dad was big, he probably has some more growth space to go. Because when I watch Joe Iginla play, there's nothing wrong with how he plays, right? There's absolutely, when I watch him, I'm just like, yep, like I like this player. But you have to draft guys that you're thinking about the NHL with. And I'm just not that sure that he's quite up to that point where it's like he's going to be one of the best guys on my list. But I bet there's an NHL team out there that's going to take a swing on him, and I'm sure he's a great kid. I've never met him, and that could change things. There's a lot to like about a Joe Iginla. It's just there's a lot of question marks too. But I bet someone will pick him. Someone will. These are my guys. Make it sound like you're just firing shots at Brad for a living. Well, he is an example of that. But like lots of people do it. It's not just him. Lots of people do it. You know, Bill Guerin just let Judd Brackett go, right? You know, like guys, it happens. Big and tough and hard to play against shots at Berube. I mean, he's one of them, but a lot of them do that. Like how many times have you heard that from GMs? We want to be tougher to play against. We want to be tougher to play against. We want to be tougher to play against. It's like, well, okay. But like that's what everybody wants, right? Like what team out there is like we want to be easier to play against? Yeah, that's what we want. Like that's what I love is just like when someone explains their thought process on something And I go, well, like, no one's going to disagree with that. Like, you're saying just a thing that has to be true, right? Like, that you're saying, like, hey, what's your goal, when you get up in the morning? And you go, make it to work alive. It's like, okay, odd, but like, sure, just making it to work alive. Obviously, that's a goal because you don't want to die on your way to work. So it's like, oh, we want to be tougher to play. Well, what's the alternative? Like, be softer? Like the thing that made me laugh this year was, hey, what do you guys need for next year? And they go, better players. It's like, okay. We need better players. Okay. Funny. How are the Russians looking for 2027? Heard some good things. Excellent. I've said this on the show. I don't recognize your username, but I was in PEI last summer for a tournament at a place called Andrews Hockey, which is like a development school at UPEI, and Gold Star Management brought a team of Russians there. Most of them were 2009s. There was one 08, I think, and a couple of 2010s, but they were mostly 09s, and they wiped the floor with everybody at that tournament. And that was like, some guys were CHL draft picks, some were for, like, Cole Zarofsky was there. Who else was there? Fenwick McLean was there. There's a few. But they were not bad players, and they just wiped the floor with them. Like, it was just absurd. And I was talking to one of the guys who was with Gold Star, and really nice guy from Russia, very Russian. And he's like, I think it's the best age group we've had ever. He's like, it's like the early 2000s when they had guys like Malkin and Ovechkin and all those guys coming through. All of them. And there's a lot of good ones. Like Sergei Skvortsov is excellent. Yegor Privalov, or Nazar Privalov, sorry. Yegor Privalov's the one from last year. Nazar Privalov, Vladimir Stirkunov, Vladimir Mozhukin is pretty good. I kind of like Pavel Chernochub, the defenseman in Omsk. Who else is out there? There's a lot. I'm trying to think. Like, there's just a lot. Andrei Pustovoy in Yaroslavl. Like, they've got some guys, man. I if I could, I would go upstairs and grab what I did for these games. And look, some people will think I'm a moron, but those people already think that if I tell you this. But when I'm watching a game live, a lot of the time, I don't write notes. I just put tick marks next to the guys when they do something good and dashes when they do something bad, and then I just watch the tape back later to like double check. And I could go pull out the list of the Russian guys from that tournament, and I could look at all the guys that had just tick, 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 all the way down the page. And like Skvortsov was one. Oh, Roman Kozhevnikov. He's a big center for Chelyabinsk. I think he could take a huge step and be awesome next year. They got some good ones. It's going to be a good class, and I hope they play above the MHL. It would be nice. But I'm not crossing my fingers for it. We'll see. But it could be a really good year for Russians. Should be a really good year. In an orchestra or band, they draft for position over best available for sure. Well, yes, but like that, you see my point though. Like, there are various specialists of their instruments, right? But it's like, is one better than the other? No. Yeah, Morse code evaluation. Exactly. That's how I do it. I actually telegraph. I have what's it called? A seismometer. Like, I have an old seismometer in my suitcase at my hotel when I go to these tournaments, and I dot dash ding 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 ding, and it does the seismograph thing and just writes down my notes for me. That's how I do it. I'm real old school in the rinks. The likelihood of Bjork being more impactful than Stenberg, I'm convinced he'll be better. I mean, I think it's possible. Bjork is very competitive. I think he could grow. if you wanted Björk, like if he interviewed and you loved him and you really wanted him, I could be swayed. Like, again, like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm smarter than everybody. It's a team thing, drafting guys. And if I was outnumbered going, hey, I like this Stenberg guy, and you wanted Viggo Björk instead, you could convince me. There have been long stretches of this season where they've been on the same tier for me. And it is close this year. For Schmitz and Björk, it is really close to top tier level. So I think it's possible, and I don't think it's necessary. I think they could end up relatively equal in value because they're both competitive players. I think Stenberg is a lot more comfortable at like playing a bit of a dynamic game than Björk is. Like, Björk does lack a level of like escape speed and a level of evasion ability reliably, I would say, at that level that Stenberg kind of doesn't lack. And so I think there are areas where Stenberg is more advanced, but like if Björk grows and like develops and takes some steps in some key areas, then of course I could see it happening. And he being a center definitely gives him value for sure. But Björk is a guy that I could see that happening for sure. I think this draft is a lot closer than people are leading on. I think it's a lot closer. Like like if Wyatt Cullen ends up just as productive as Ivar Stenberg does in the NHL, I would not be surprised. Right? Like there's a lot to chew on this year, and there's a lot of universes where things could go all over the place. I think. I don't think it's as cut and dry as it's being portrayed. Or at least tiered out as it's portrayed, like when we look back. I can't wait to look back on this draft class in 5 or 10 years. It's just going to be so much fun. Even if I'm wrong on everything, who cares? It's going to be a lot of fun. That's half the fun. Slavin winning a cup is a big one too. Yep, definitely. He just seems like a gem, just a great guy. So, yeah, I could see that. You know, like he's a man of God, but in a good way, man. Clearly, I think it's pretty clear. Seems like the team loves him. He loves Carolina. He's been there forever, and I'll take it, man. I love that. I love it. He's it's great. All right, where were we here? Could you shed some light on your data process? Sure. I mean, like what do you want to know? Because where did I put that thing? I'll be right back. Luckily, I wore pants today. That's a joke, by the way. I wear pants all the time. Okay. So here's how I do stuff. I do it all, well, not all of it anymore, but I use Google's suite of applications, largely Sheets, because it is easy and I can use it anywhere in the world, on any computer, and it's easy. And I basically have like a master tab of all of the players that I track. So it's just row after row of guy. In each column, I have a separate sheet for each player's games, like individual games that I'm tracking. So if I'm doing a game, I'll track a game of a player, dump the data into their tab, and that tab will feed all of its data into the master sheet. And then that master sheet feeds into like a report generator. So like all I have to do is type a player's name into a report generator, and like all their metrics and data that I want pop up, right? I've shown you that on the like this thing, right? Oh no, that's that's not it. That's a funny joke. This thing, right? Like it's a little bit different for the one that I use, but by and large, this is what it looks like. The cropping is a little weird. I don't really know why, but I don't know. So like I can type a name in and it'll just go and change everything. To gather the data, I mean, I just use video. I'm watching video and I'm putting data in using this thing. This is an old Novation Launchpad Mini from like 2012. And I've had this thing lying around forever. And I had the thought the other day, well, not the other day, like back in December, I thought, hey, why don't I write code some software thanks to I'm going to say the dirty word of the year. I used AI to code an application that I run locally on this. I reprogrammed this thing so that it corresponds to different metrics that I track, right? And so I can just watch a game and it's like a video game. I'm watching the video and I just go blah 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 blah, right? And it just goes into a thing. And then when I'm done a game, copy paste, put it in the database, and then the database feeds everything and runs all the metrics and does everything. But in reality, like when I'm tracking a game, like I've learned over the years to, like, it's about as efficient as I can make it. Like I don't like, it sounds like I do, like I have a lot of columns. There's a lot of data and metrics that I can derive from the tracked data. But I only track, let's see. Well, that doesn't even count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. Yeah, like 54 different metrics. Like I track 54 individual metrics during a game, and they're all mapped to some pad on this thing. And I can rewrite it if I want a different layout or whatever, but I found a pretty good one. Created a pretty good one. Yeah, and then it just goes into this, and then I just drop it in, and off it goes. And look, I'm a believer in, like, I know that Sport Logic exists. I know that a lot of what I do, you can probably just find if you're an NHL employee. But I think there's a lot of value in creating it yourself and seeing where it comes from. Because I'll tell you this, not every pass attempt is a pass attempt. Not every hit is a hit. Not every blue line transition is easy to tell if it was one thing or another. Like, I know people have been making player cards based on instat data. I don't know how much I would trust those, because there's a lot of other context that's missed in that data. And also, like, their ability to accurately ascertain some things. Like, I think instat is extremely valuable. Don't get me wrong. They're better than nothing. But the more you do this, the more you realize, okay, this is useful, but there's more to it than this, right? So it's kind of a mix of all of the above. But I couldn't do it without this. I'm not gonna lie. I don't understand how people don't at least gather data from the performances they're seeing in some way. Because I don't know how you retain the information you're seeing in front of you. Like, I don't understand, let alone in person. I don't understand. The fact that you can't rewind and rewatch, and the fact that you have to wait for the players you're interested in to come back on the ice, like, I don't, maybe that's just my neurodivergence or something, but I don't understand how that's even functionally possible where you get enough information. Whereas this, like, I feel pretty confident that after 3 or 4 games of the process of this, not necessarily the data that comes out, but the process of this, I have a decent grasp of what to expect for the remainder of the games, right? Sometimes it's different. Sometimes guys do legitimately change my mind and whatever, but by and large, this helps me. Or one of these, a number pad, like a separate number pad for your keyboard. This costs like $30, and sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll have this like on my gut, like sideways, and just, you know, like that kind of deal. But you don't need to know that. I don't know why I told you that. Hope that helps. Calgary Flames, Viggo Bjork at 6 or Keaton. I probably would go Viggo Bjork, but I'm not gonna lie, my mock draft, it's both of those guys. So I would be fine with either, but I would lean Viggo Bjork. EP really likes Max Dagenet. They said his floor is around Zach Bolduc and could be nice if he hits. How do you see him? Well, he's not in my first round, but if you wanted him in the 20s range, I would maybe agree. I think that he has a long way to go to be Matthew Nyes, but he does have physicality. He does have a good set of wheels. He's pretty skilled. I just think that, like, if we live, like, I think it's one of those things where we have to pick the lane in which we live and the strategy in which we, because, like, do you value a guy with hockey sense who can stitch a play together and everything? Because if that's the case, I don't think that's Dagenais. But do you just want guys who can go out there, throw hits, grind along the boards, carry the puck with some decent speed, have a bit of skill, and maybe they have some in the pro, like some turnovers and some sloppy moments where you're kind of frustrated, but you like the physicality of his game and blah, 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 then sure, I get the value. It's just a matter of what you like. This is why I don't really like player comps. Because, like, I see Dagenais, like, more as a third line, maybe a second line complementary physical player that's, like, more isolated in his role. But he has all the tools to, like, be an NHL player of some kind. Like, even if you throw him out there as a fourth line, just go out there and smash everyone. And if you get the puck below the goal line, throw it out in front of the net, you know, that type of thing. That would be an idea. But it all depends. Like, there are probably other players I would draft when Dagenais does get drafted. But yeah. Wanted to let you know that one of your tweets was put in an article in Pittsburgh, which is a Pittsburgh Penguins website under SB Nation. Uh-oh. Forgot to capitalize your name. Get out. Banned. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. We got friends in Pittsburgh. We got pals in Pittsburgh. There are some folks in Pittsburgh. We got pals. But that's cool. That's cool. I don't know which one, because I don't really tweet all that often, at least not recently. Except for last night, I did send a tweet. Wheels score of Benson, Stank, Hudson, and Cooley would be a fun watch. Well, I don't know if there's any teams where I would have actually ended up with that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the, because I've done retroactive team scouting exercises for, like, who are the best players available for me at a given pick for other teams, because I don't like pretending that I also was thinking live. Like, I like doing the team scouting thing live as the draft happens, because then it's like, well, you gotta make a choice there. You can't go back and, you know, whatever. So when I do go back, it's like, all right, who's the highest player on my list at that point? So not all the time would I maybe have done that. And I'm trying to think if there's any teams where it would have been all four of those guys together, and I don't. Maybe Utah? Maybe? Maybe Utah? Let me double check. The Utah Mammoth. Team Scouting Edition. Are they here? Right, they're still under Arizona. Lane Hudson is there. All right, so the Arizona one. Yeah, there's no... Wait, is there? Sorry, I know this is bad content. We've got Lane Hudson there. We got James Haggins. We got LJ Mooney. We got Matvey Michkov. Thomas Galvis. Luca Caglioni. Herman Truff. Oliver Moore. Luca Pinelli. Clark Caswell. Teddy Stiga. Seamus Casey. Berkeley Catton. Who else is on this list? Jaden Perron. Ludwig Johnson, my boy. Shane Wright is in here. Probably could have been Logan Cooley. Right? Was Cooley? Yeah. Oh, Stankoven is in here. That's a good one. There's Stankoven. Brad Lambert is in here. Gleb Trikozov, may he rest in peace. Atu Ratu. Okay, so you got Stankoven and Ratu. That's fine. Jesper Wallstead is in here. God, that would be... Whew. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but that team would be a riot to watch. That would be out of control. It's funny how that happens. Anywho, let's continue. Link to the Black Book thing? Oh, yeah. Here you go. Let me get that for you here. this one. I'll put it in the chat. All right. Wasn't expecting Celtic music to take a shot. I didn't take a shot at Celtic music. My point is that you're not hiring Stan Rogers' fiddle player to play first violin on the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, but you're not hiring the first violin at the Toronto Symphony Orchestra to play violin for the late great Stan Rogers. You know? It's just different strokes thing, you know, different vibe, different players. No disrespect at all. I know Joe Ginla projects to go pretty late, but what's his upside case being from Calgary? I mean, honestly, I don't know, because like there are moments where Joe Ginla flashes some really good skill, some really good skating ability, some really good physical tools. I think he's a pretty responsible player with the puck. Like you can tell he's like thinking about stuff when he's playing. He's not just kind of winging it. Like there's nothing inherently necessarily wrong in his game. The answer to your question to me is I don't know, because he's just so far away that like could his development path be more on the physical side, and he's maybe more of a bottom six winger / center who can sort of play a bit of a grindy energy role? Maybe. Could he go really far with his speed and skill and actually become more of an offensive guy and maybe more like his brother? Like maybe, yeah. It's just I don't know. I think he's just so raw and small and young and thin that like you love how he plays, but like what he's gonna be, I don't know. And I think that's why teams are a little more skeptical about him. Who'd you take at 20 for the Sharks? Well, they're gonna have some options. I mean, to me, at 2, like the best player for me would probably almost certainly be Stenberg. And I think Stenberg would be a good ad for San Jose, and he could step right in. Or at least get a few games and step right in. See how he does. And I think if you guys are really desperate for a defenseman, you're gonna get a good option at 20. Like Tommy Blyle at 20. I think would be a fantastic. I think he fits right in with the style of player that San Jose seems to love, or the ones that thrive there, in my opinion. Blyle would be a good one at 20. Villeneuve at 20 if he's there. Sure. I mean, the defenseman, like, if you wanted to play a little more safe, you could look at guys like Hakanen Hawkinson. You could look at Piiparainen in that range. You could look at who else? Like, but you'll get some good options. There's going to be some good stuff available, I think, at that 20 slot, especially if you want a defenseman. There's going to be some interesting options. I remember having a back and forth with Tulski on James Henry Mistakes Analytics on Broad Street Hockey 14 years ago. Good times. Yeah, hey, man. Tulski's one of the OGs, man. He's one of the good ones. It's been fun watching him over the years. I remember him back in the blogger days. As a Canes fan for 25 years, the biggest thing that NHL teams can learn from the Canes is patience. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Who's the biggest sad boy after the Canes won the Cup? Marta Rantanen or Dodd Waddell? I mean, I don't know. It must suck to be Don Waddell. I'm sure that's, but like, look, at the end of the day, like, you got to take some level of pride in being like, yes, I was there to help build that too, right? Like, I had a part in it, and that's nice. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, maybe Jake Gensel. I thought he was a really good fit there. And he wanted to go to Tampa, which I get, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to judge Mikko Rantanen because because Rantanen is going to, like, he if it wasn't right, it wasn't right? Like, what's he going to do? Force himself to stay? I don't know. Like, he's probably like, whoops, but I don't know. He's probably thinking like, I like Dallas a lot more. Farter Shart. Yeah, there's the one. Have you watched any early tape of Alexis Joseph to have an opinion on him? I've seen enough to know that I wouldn't draft him right now high in the draft. Like, I don't see it with him right now. At least not to the point where it's like even a remote conversation between him and Landon DuPont. Yeah, no, I don't. Who knows what he's going to look like next year? I have no idea. But like, I thought the under 18s was going to be the opportunity for him to really prove to everybody, like for someone like me who is a little doubtful of him. It's like, okay, here's your opportunity. You're playing children. You're a big guy. You're playing children. This should be something where if you're an elite player, you show very well. I remember Xavier Villeneuve last year. He looked really good at the under 18s. He was awesome. Really, really great. Now, granted, he wasn't 16, but a D-1 nonetheless. Joseph ended up, spare forward, played barely at all down the lineup, like lost his job to a guy like Beckett Hamilton, I think, with all due respect to Beckett Hamilton. So that doesn't sound like a surefire, and he didn't really play like it either, like a surefire top first overall player. Like, I don't think so. But again, like a good summer, like he's big, he's got some good range on his feet, he's a pretty physical player. Like, there's some stuff that you can really look at and go, okay, yeah, I could see this taking some good steps next year. He's going to be a year older. He'll be 17 and not 16, and we'll see where it goes. But compared to like a Landon DuPont, even a Nizar Pravalov at times, like I don't think he's there. Do you have Malhotra behind Lawrence and Bjork as far as centers go? Yes, I do. The second thing they need to learn from Carolina is stop undervaluing the small guys. A lot of the guys would not be Hurricanes if they weren't so under the radar. Yeah, I agree. I know what Carolina thinks. They don't really care how small you are. They don't care. If you can play, you can play. Right? And they're accountable. Like, generally speaking, when you see that Carolina lineup, you're not thinking, how is this guy playing and this other guy is not? You generally don't really come to that conclusion. They generally know what they've got, and they generally play what they've got pretty well. And they don't care how big you are. If you play what they're looking for, which, yeah, then you can play. Chaos draft, I think it'll be nuts. I think it's going to be very chaotic. I don't know, not in terms of like trades or anything, but in terms of who goes where and who's valuing what. Like, it's going to be fun. Oh man, if you like beef, teams will jump at the beef. If you desperately want centers and defensemen, teams will jump on those guys as soon as physically possible. Teams just don't really care. They're going to take the really good players that are just there at 25. They could feast. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. And I know the NHL scouts that I've heard quotes from in the media are not very positive on this class, but I think it is a very interesting one. There's a lot more interesting is the adjective I would use. It's interesting. More interesting than last year's, I think. Better, good, best class. We'll see. I don't really use that, but yeah. Good, fun, and interesting. Interesting group. What do you think Kanserov will be in the NHL? What current player do you think he could be compared to in terms of impact? I mean, to me, he's the Russian Nick Lardis. Like, that's kind of what Roman Kanserov is to me. If you put him in a position where he's going to be able to shoot the puck and play in the offensive zone, he'll score. That's his thing. I don't... Like, that's kind of the job, I think. So, yeah. I think he could be fine. I don't know what we'll see out of him, but I would be very, especially based on the changes in the KHL over the last 5 years, I'd be very hesitant to anoint him as something until he has a full season under his belt or something. Because when I watch him and I see guys like Nick Lardis and all that stuff, I think that there's I think there's some similarities there between those two. I think he's a little bit better at getting around the ice than Lardis, but in terms of like overall impact, I think they're sort of similar. He might be a bit better of a pure, like maybe a bit more of a playmaker's mind in the offensive zone than Lardis, who's more of a pure shooter. But in terms of like vibe, kind of similar. I asked earlier about Preston, but I might have been super clear. I feel like he's going way into the writer. Oh, he is. I mean, I believe that he is, but I also I know he didn't go as high as he could have in the WHL draft because he told teams he wanted to score 50 goals and they didn't like it. You know, I like people have a vociferous hatred for Mathis Preston and think he's just not going to work. That he's cocky and arrogant and insert whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's similar to McKenna. The only thing that would sketch me out and scare me is if he didn't interview well, if I didn't like how he came off, if he did, if my development staff and my coaches didn't, whatever. But we interviewed him. I saw the tape. He seemed totally fine to me. Or did we? I think we did. Yeah, I think so. Or was that Lawrence? We did Lawrence, but I'm not sure. I don't want to. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I'll talk to AJ if we did or not, or Tony. But I mean, look, I think people are like, if teams don't think that a player is if a player is extremely talented and the team doesn't think that they're going to be a fit in the organization because of their personality or their their perception of their professionalism, then they're not going to draft them, right? And that's the thing on Preston. I think that's the thing. People think that there is a level of like arrogance to him. And personally, I just call it swagger. I think he's just got swagger. And I thought that was a good thing. Like the only thing is that a player like him, if you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And when he's walking the walk, everybody knows. And when he's not walking the walk, everybody knows. And it, like, to me, I look at the numbers that come out of his games, and there's some stuff that he does where I'm like, nobody else in the draft class does that. Nobody in the draft is doing numbers like this, and he earns them. And then there are some, and I go, well then, but what happens when it's not there? And he's tossing the puck away, giving the puck away on breakouts to nobody at all, and just kind of just absent-minded hockey here and there. And you're just like, dude, like, do you have any idea how good you are and how good you can be? Like, you just want to help him out. You know what I mean? But like, if he hits, like, yeah, it's going to be Stankoven style. It's like, how did this guy go 45 or whatever it is? How is that even possible? You're telling me, yeah, and it's like, yeah, I am telling you, yes, that is a thing that happened, you know? Same thing with Villeneuve. I bet the same thing could happen with Villeneuve. And you're like, how? Lane Hudson, 60th overall or whatever? How is that possible? How is it that like 3 teams passed on him 3 times? You know? Anything is possible. And look, I mean, in this draft class, he pretty quickly is one of the most, if not the most exciting hockey players available. Like, I think he's got game-breaking NHL level skill and speed and combination, and I think he's a much better playmaker than he gets credit for. And I don't know. I saw people talking about how he wasn't very good at the under-18s. Same thing with Lawrence. And I go, well, who was good on Canada if it wasn't them? Like, what sport am I watching? Who did you like? What does a good hockey player on that team look like to you? Like, maybe Ryan Lynn, but like, really? Like, is that where we're at? You're telling me you see Tynan Lawrence threading backdoor passes on the far post to some trailing forward? It was a little lucky, but you're telling me that guy's not any good? The guy who's busting his ass in the boards and on the back checks and through the neutral zone? Like, you're telling me that's the guy that's not good? Okay. All right. If the NHL is a copycat league, Bjork is going top 5, or at least he will not escape Calgary. Well, the NHL is a copycat league, but only if they're comfortable with what they're copying, right? Like, I think it is far less likely that the NHL is going to look at an Eric Tulsky-led Carolina Hurricanes and go, we need to be more like that. They should at least examine how they did what they did. 16-3 in the playoffs don't just happen. You know? Care to speak on Carolina's signing practices where they almost all sign guys to their top guys early before waiting for them to blow up or getting them on deals like Blake and Stankoven? Well, I mean, like, I think from what I can read between the lines on, it's that those players realize what's going on in Carolina, and they realize and they love it there. Like, they've realized that they have a good leadership group there. And so it's like the priorities are kind of different. And I think for them, it's like, okay, like, sure, maybe I could push them and make $8 million, but I love it here. And I just want this to be over with. And if I'm making 6 million or if I'm making 9 million, maybe that's just not the end of the world for me to think about. It's generational wealth. If I sign an 8-year deal for $5.4 million or 6 point whatever, you know, that's $40 million. Like, how much can a banana cost, Michael? $10? You know, like, that's that kind of money. Like, who cares? In my opinion. Like, if you know you're in a place that you really love and they respect you and understand you and it works, the money is nice, but it's just money. And no matter what, you're going to be fine. So I think I get that. Like, I'm a huge believer in trusting people insofar as, like, if you put them in an environment that they can be receptive to, they will be loyal and they will play ball in a negotiation. But if you create an environment that is rewarding of other priorities or maybe not something they're super into, but you're trying to entice them, then yeah, it's going to cost you a lot more. But from everything I can gather, the Carolina Hurricanes are a team that guys want to play for and the young guys want to stay. And, like, why wouldn't you? You've got Rod Brindamore coaching you. You're on paper one of the best teams at 5-on-5 year after year after year. Like, sure, people seem to love living there. The fans are incredible. The vibes in that team, the culture there is so unique and interesting. Like, if it works, you love it. You know? That's the thing. So, if anything, the lesson should be, like, it's why having it's like they're more relaxed. It's like they're having fun playing hockey. They have fun playing hockey together. And so I think that get like, you know, at the end of the day, you're playing a game, you're entertaining fans. You got to find players that are good at it and players who can help you win, of course. Like, you're not going to entertain fans if you're losing. But the players understand that too. And if you get players who are putting in the work and, like, being professionals and being adults because it's to enable themselves to be great fans in a great arena, you know, with great teammates, it feeds on itself. And at the end of the day, if at the end of the season, the GM calls you and is like, hey, we want to negotiate an extension to your contract, our offer is $6 million, you're probably a lot more likely to go, all right, let's talk, right? Like, let's, you know, I like, as the player, I am more comfortable putting my name next to a number that is X, whereas if I'm going to an unfamiliar scenario with another team and I don't know what I'm walking into really, and there's uncertainty, I may get X plus 10, but I really like X. I really like what X gives me. And that's the advantage of having a good organization, not just a good team, but like a good, smart group that is pointing themselves in the right direction and focused on it. You know what I mean? And yeah, having a coach that's way more jacked than you is also a big one too. Yeah, like, that's the thing, right? Like, I'm a believer that being a coach in the NHL, a lot of it is motivation. Do you get your guys to, can you scratch the itch to get them to play from opening puck drop to closing puck drop? You know? Is that a chat on my screen? Is this what they do? Do kids do this still? You know, do they do this? Anyway. Yeah, Bjork is a little different from Stankoven, by the way. I know that came up. I gotta say, someone said, like, you don't like Lawrence over Bjork like Scouch. I think they're extraordinarily close. I have Lawrence a shade ahead of Bjork, but it is so close. And that largely just comes down to Lawrence and his skating ability. Like, I think that is the one thing that is a doubt for me with Bjork. Like, if he doesn't grow, but yeah, like, just to be clear, I think that gap is extremely close, and I don't think you'd have to twist my arm too hard to screw it up or to go the other way. Do you think Chicago should try to move up at 2 with San Jose or draft the best available player that would be there? I don't think I'd be trading up in this draft. And San Jose would ask for a lot. I don't think I would do it. If I'm Chicago. If I'm San Jose, then probably, yeah, I would do it. But if I'm Chicago, what's the point? You know, like, if you want a defenseman, they're all relatively similar in ability right now. Stenberg may very well be there, and I think Stenberg in Chicago would be awesome. I don't know. I don't think it's likely. I don't think that type of thing just happens very often anyway. It would be fun, but I don't think so. I know it's not draft related, but do you know why Ilya Nabokov's numbers dropped? I don't know. I mean, I remember watching him when everybody was freaking out about him, and I wasn't huge on him. But I don't know much about goaltenders. I don't know. What's your opinion on Kiefer Sherwood's extension 5 3/4 for 5 years? I mean, like, I like Kiefer Sherwood. Whenever I see him play, I go, yeah, I could have that guy on my team. And I really wish that we were smart enough as a society to accept putting player salaries out as a percentage of the cap instead of salary. You know? Like, if we, or just do all three, you know? I just think it would be so much better at capturing the context, because I think people always get taken aback by these guys making, like, you're telling me that this bottom 6 forward is worth $5 million a year? And it's like, well, like, that is now like 5-6% of the cap. You know, that's that 5 3/4 is maybe 5.5% of the cap, maybe a little less. So, like, that's not that much, and that's that just next year. You know, like, Kiefer Sherwood at 5 3/4 when the salary cap is $120 million in a few years, and maybe he's not very good, like, he's past his prime. So what? Like, you could waive him if you want. Hopefully not. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But, like, that's manageable. In 5 years, like, until he's 35, 36 years old, like, that's not the end of the world. It's you're assigning him to be a veteran energy guy. And if that's what he can be, then that's what he can be. And you paid to get him. You paid a decent chunk to get him. So try to keep him, you know? Who should the Jets draft at 8 or 9 after Hellebuck is traded to Florida? Is that what's happening? Tynan Lawrence and Malte Gustafsson. And then they play Tynan Lawrence on the wing and wonder why he's not any good. Who do you think the Pens could target? Honestly, the guy that I've always had in my head, when it is, now that it can't be Wyatt Cullen, it won't be Wyatt Cullen, which was my guy for a long time. It would be probably Jack Hextall, or, like, I could see like an Ilya Morozov being maybe an option if he's there. Oliver Suvanto. They don't usually draft like Russians that often, so maybe not Morozov. They draft some Finns here and there. Maybe Suvanto if he's there. I don't know if he will. I mean, Wes Clark does not like... He goes off the board, man. They're not shy. So that's why Jack Hextall sticks out to me. He's very Dubas coded, I think. Evan Jardine, his line mate, that would be a shocker, but if I squint, I could see the Wes Clark, Kyle Dubas logic on a guy like Evan Jardine. Who's this year's Rempe? Oh boy. Big and not really that skilled. Alex Karmanov? No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like Matthew Rempe, I remember was just big. Like he was just huge and fought. So who's big and fought this year a lot? I don't know. And it won't be. It isn't Brooks Rogowski. It isn't Ethan Belchetz. Or Ethan Belchez, I should say. I don't know what a Pavel Martinu is, but he's really big. I don't know if there is one. But I mean, I would not have expected, Matthew Rempe out of Sawyer Dingman. It might be Sawyer Dingman. He's one of the youngest guys in the draft. He's already like 6 foot whatever. Sawyer Dingman, yeah, September 11th, 2008. Really young, already 6'4", 225. There you go. Matthew Rempe. I don't know. From what I've seen of Dingman, yeah, 98 penalty minutes this year. Sure. You take a bet on a Ginla name once you get to round 5-ish, though. Yeah, I mean, it depends on who's available. Like, am I taking Wiggo Sorensen over Joe Ginla? Probably, based on the player. But if I do like Joe Ginla, and I'm sure he's a great kid. So yeah, like if I was on a team and other people were like, I also really love Joe Ginla. We adore him as a player, and it's the 5th round, so let's just do it. I'd be like, okay, I got no problem with that. Would 20 be too early to take Plant? I mean, I really like him. I look at Victor Plant and I see a guy where it's like, you just watch the Carolina Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup, and Victor Plant sure looks a lot like that. Like, not the biggest guy, but like speedy, skilled, physical, intense, competitive, has really slippery, skilled moments here and there. Yeah. I mean, it depends on who's available, but I'd think about it. I probably would trade down if I really wanted him, because I feel like the chatter is that he's more of a 3rd round pick in reality, maybe late 2nd, 3rd round pick, something like that. Maybe, if that. Because I think teams see him and go, he's too small to play that way in the NHL. And honestly, they might be right. So I might not do it that high. But I'd be pretty happy adding him at some point. Do you think Pete Ryan could go higher than expected? I don't think so. I mean, I don't even know really where he's expected. I think in my draft sim, on average, he's going in the 40s somewhere. And I could kind of see that. Is that too late? Maybe, but I don't think. I think in this draft class, if you frame things in a certain way, like a lot of guys look roughly equivalent, and so maybe a guy that one team wanted at 20 could be there at 50, and maybe one team that saw a guy as 50 went to 20, and they'd be like, what? There's a lot, but I mean, higher than expected. Like, I mean, I have him in my late 1st, I think, or early 2nd. And if he goes in the middle of the 1st round or something, it wouldn't shock me. But I think teams are going to look a different direction first for a while. Why can't the Avalanche draft worth a squat? Well, they don't draft very often. And then they trade a lot of the guys they do draft. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Their focus is also winning a Stanley Cup, right? Like, they're not. The draft is not in their wheelhouse right now. Do you think Scott Morrow can be an important part of the core in New York? Do you trust his development? Man, I don't know what New York is thinking trading Keandre Miller for a guy like Scott Morrow and then not playing Scott Morrow. Like, I know he's not the best defensive player in the NHL, but like he's got to learn sometime. Because I've seen him in the AHL and I go, this guy's too good for this. I just don't think this is a good fit. And you should, like, you traded a guy like Keandre Miller for him, and look at Miller now, and you didn't play him. So that, ugh. And you've got like Will Borgen on the team and extended, or is it Will Borgen? New York Rangers roster. Yeah, like you're riding Drew Fortescue this year a lot. Yeah, Will Borgen. You brought in Gavrikov. Like, you're telling me you're playing Urho Vakanainen over Scott Morrow just as your young guy to get him reps? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. I thought it was a great idea, though, for the Rangers to add him. I thought it was a great idea because Morrow, I think, is a perfect fit for the type of player that, well, a perfect fit for New York in general, just based on the way he plays. And I mean, look, like they dumped Zach Jones, and I thought Zach Jones was more than good enough to play on that team. And I still can't believe the Sabres didn't play him like at all this year. I thought that was a brilliant pickup from them, and he scored a ton in the AHL. And I don't know, man. I would give him a look. And Morrow, like, I think he's waiver eligible next year, right? I think. And if he's on waivers next year, I might just go ahead and pick him up. Him and maybe pick up Zach Jones and, you know. How bad could it possibly be? Who should Detroit put at 9? It should be a center. Bjork, Coman, Savanto. I would say of all those, you take Bjork, and that's easy. I think it's Bjork. Yep. Did you see all the Scottish fans taking over Fenway Park? I did very briefly. I mean, the World Cup this year has been... It is here, and it has been. Holy smokes. I did see that. Good. My spirit animal, or my spirit country, the Scots. The Scots are it's one of my favorite places in the world, Scotland. And as much as I keep playing the line from Train Spotting, it's shite being Scottish in my head. I think it's incredible there. So yeah, good for them. Let's see what's going on in the chats here. Will Smith, Demidov, and Stenberg. How would you use these three compared to each other long-term wise? Well, of all those three, I probably like Demidov the most. I think he just has game-breaking raw skill and upside. I think he's only scratching the surface of what he can do because I think he's got more skill than most of the NHL right now. Very creative, very dangerous. I mean, he made Oliver Kapanen a 20-goal scorer, man. Stenberg, I think, is like, if you like guys like Seth Jarvis, you know, I think that's kind of the vibe Stenberg will have. That's the type of player I think you're getting. He may not be the flashiest guy, but you don't really worry about him, and you always like having him on the team. I don't know about Stenberg bringing all of his childhood friends around all the time, but maybe. But yeah, Will Smith, I think, would be the most limited of those three, but very, 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 very skilled. Like I see him as very much a perfect companion to a guy like Celebrini, where a lot of the responsibility can fall on someone else's shoulders for outside the offensive zone stuff. Defensive zone stuff maybe isn't really his forte. Defending the neutral zone, not really his forte. But with the right mix of guys around him, like once they upgrade that defense group and maybe add a little bit more in the way of mobility and physicality and getting him the puck in the neutral zone, then maybe you see a little more offense out of him. But very skilled, undeniably skilled, very fun to watch. But I think Demidov is almost like an upgrade on him. Stenberg is just a different type of player, I think. More well-rounded, so to speak. Maxim Sokolovsky, first rounder. I mean, it's probably going to happen at this rate. Like, I can just see NHL scouts being like, I can't wait to bring the 6'8" defenseman from the London Knights up on stage. You just know it's gonna happen. I don't see it. With Sokolovsky, it's like, if he gets there, great. I'm not gonna like crap on a kid's dream. I'm not gonna like do that. And if there's stuff that I don't know or that I'm missing or whatever on him outside of like he's big and mean and skates his way into physical play a lot, if that's just like, if you say, well, we can work with that and turn him into Nikita Zadorov, it's like, all right, fair enough. I guess that's possible. But like, I don't think people look back on Nikita Zadorov and go like if he was worth drafting in the first round, then he wouldn't have like bounced around a bunch of different teams. And I just don't know if Zadorov is actually like that effective as an NHL defenseman. Like, Radko Gudas kind of was a decent defensive player, but with Sokolovsky, he's just not for me. Like, I watch him play. I really value the results of a player's game. Like, how do they play? And when I watch Sokolovsky, I go, he is out of position a lot. He is not that great at covering the rush defensively, I don't think. I think he chases physical play, and that, I think, is a really bad habit. That series against the Sioux Greyhounds, like, I think that single-handedly, I think, put him on first-round radar, because all he did was just chase around Brady Martin and make his life a nightmare. And it's like, that's fine. That is good for him to do. But like, the question for me always was, at what cost? Because I found that Sioux just played around that really well. And like, that's not a job, right? Like, I don't think an NHL coach, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, like, I don't think Rod Brindamore is out there looking at Jalen Chatfield and go, hey, Mitch Marner? I don't care where you are on the ice, you get him, right? Like, I don't think that's a great formula. But if you disagree, then okay. Fine. All right. I'm sure there are players that I have that have just as low a chance, in my opinion, of making it as Sokolovsky does to other people. But from what I've seen of him, I just think he's a really long way away. And I don't know exactly what his job will be outside of be big and mean. You know what I mean? If you want to be big and mean, but I remember watching like David Bedkowski last year. I think he is more advanced than Sokolovsky is, and I did not like him all that much last year. Like, Aaron Dahlqvist was a guy that kind of is like what I think Sokolovsky people are saying he is or could be, and I think Dahlqvist was that last year for in Sweden, and I thought he was okay, but not like first round. You know what I mean? But I think it's going to happen. Will Smith was drafted as a center. Do you see him becoming more two-way? He seems like a weaker McKenna. Nah, I mean, I didn't think he was going to be a center like from the moment I laid eyes on him. I didn't really think that was in his future. I did not think that was in his future, and it hasn't really borne out that way. But I don't mean that as like he's not going to be a center, so he's bad. But like, in all honesty, I think it's like Connor Bedard in a way. Like, when I watched Connor Bedard as a player in junior, I kind of went, this guy would be an unbelievable winger. Like, I don't know if I want him being a center for my team, but if I play it, but they gave him the Tim Stützle treatment, and I guess it's worked out okay. It's getting better. But like with Will Smith, it was not that questionable. Like, for me, it was just like, I don't know what he's going to do as a center in the NHL. I just don't see that as likely. He's just small and not very, he didn't really have the speed or the tenacity or the sort of physicality up the middle to like handle that type of a job. And his range wasn't as apparent. I just didn't see it. But as a winger, it's like, okay, that's where his strong points, I think, are best utilized. Maybe not as a forechecking guy, but that's what I mean by, like, you kind of have to insulate him and, like, put him with the right mix, and it could be great. But that's why I had Smith lower than Oliver Moore, because I just saw more depth in Moore's game. Like, he didn't have the skill level to the same extent as Smith, but he was an excellent rush player and an excellent defensive player, and was there a lot more. He was involved a lot more. So, yeah. But they were one spot apart, so shoot me. I just picked up a black book, the quotes about Gavin McKenna. Yeah. I mean, look, like, I've been saying it all year. Like, NHL scouts, I mean, the ones that are selected for the quotes in that book do not like Gavin McKenna, man. I mean, they're not necessarily wrong in their assessment, I don't think. They're just very harsh about it. I still feel like you take a swing on that guy. There's a quote in there that's something along the lines of, would you draft a combination of Artemi Panarin, Trevor Zegras, and someone else first overall? And then it goes, I wouldn't either. And I read that and I went, I mean, yeah. Like, I'm a believer in, like, if you take Nikita Kucherov and put him on the Rangers and take Artemi Panarin and put him on the Lightning, I think they have identical careers. Like, their impact on the game at 5-on-5 relative to their team is basically identical. If anything, Panarin has better defensive results. But I would bet that if you swapped those two guys and they had the same thing, just on different teams, they probably have the same trajectories. Both exceptional players. They're great players. But one has a much different environment than the other. Or had, because he's now in LA. But I saw that and I just went, I mean, you know, say what you will about Trevor Zegras being a bit of a goof, but, like, he was like the leading scorer for the Philadelphia Flyers or something, wasn't he? Like, he was, you know, I don't know. That seems like a useful asset, especially if you're combining him with Artemi Panarin and someone else. I forget who it was. Does the UK ever produce prospects? I feel like I never hear about kids from there, but I hear about kids from Australia and Japan. Well, I don't know where you're hearing about kids from Australia, honestly. But not really. I mean, the UK ice hockey is, I don't think, a very popular sport, but the fans who love it a lot. I mean, Liam Kirk was the last one who, like, is high end, and, like, he got drafted and got as high as the AHL, and he's a good player in Europe now. I don't know. I don't think there's any really on the way that I can think of. Like, right now, the countries that are kind of making big strides at the junior level, at least, are Ukraine, Lithuania, I don't know. I mean, if you really go deep down the ladder, like, I know Thailand is making a push. Uzbekistan is making a push. A lot of countries that are former Soviet countries, too, are, for reasons that I think you can put two and two together on, are giving passports to a lot of Russians, which are automatic. Yeah, Poland's another one. Yeah, Poland is making some steps. But they're giving passports to a lot of Russian guys and saying, you are Georgian now, or you are Turkish now, or you are Emirati now. And that automatically is making their men's programs, like, way more competitive. And oddly, in turn, it's, like, making the sport more visible. So maybe in, like, 20 years, we kind of think there's some growth in those places. But yeah, like, I think that, like, Yazarbek Rustam Konov coming out of Uzbekistan. Japan does have quite a few guys that come into the USHL now all the time and played quite well. So they do exist. But yeah, like, Ukraine is doing stuff. Again, if you put 2 and 2 together, you can kind of see how that's possible with the whole diaspora thing. But yeah, the UK, you just don't hear about it all that much. Chances that Utah goes against everything, believe and drafts a huge upside player. Well, I mean, there are other high upside players you could have, you know, like if they came out and took, I don't know, who's gigantic that they could get at their pick. Oni Kaltikangas, maybe? No, that's a joke. They'll take the goalie, Tobias Trejbul. I don't know. Like, if an Oliver Suvanto is there, I could see it. I mean, maybe William Hulkinson is maybe more up the alley you're kind of alluding to, if I'm using my Utah brain. Ryder Cali. He's certainly not small, and he certainly doesn't play small. That would be a surprise, but it would be good. What happened with Mikhail Gulyayev? Buddy fell off a mountain. Yeah, okay. So I actually talked to someone who knows a lot more than I do about this. And it was a very enlightening conversation because I actually asked about Gulyayev and Omsk in general because of the number of young players that at 17, 16 years old look like elite level players and then they just flatline. And this person basically said to me that, like, it's not that they sabotage young players, but they hold them to almost impossible a lot of them hold the players to like an almost impossible standard such that they can never really grow, right? Like, for example, with Gulyayev, like he stayed in Omsk, played for the KHL team. He, for a long time at least, I don't know if that's true this year, I haven't seen much of him this year, but like did not get power play time. I don't know why you don't play that guy on your power play. He was playing like third pair minutes when it's like you're like, really? And I get that, like, and I know for a fact that there's a player out there in Russia this year that switched teams and their numbers they cratered. And I was talking to someone and they were just like, yeah, someone told me that like that in Russia, like a coach can just make or break your career. If you vibe with a coach, it's great. If you don't, for whatever reason is in their mind, you are dead to them. You don't exist. And so for a young player, like that's a problem. Like I look at Gleb Trikozov, for example, and I know this sounds like cope, but I did this twice this year and I went back to the video that I pulled of him when he was a draft eligible and I just go, what happened to this guy? What happened to him? And I remember watching him as a +1 or a +2 and just going, what happened to this guy? And I watched that team the year after he was drafted in Omsk, the second division team they have. And they were not very good. And that was true in his draft year. The men's team that was the second division team was not very good. They could not score to save their life. Like, I remember watching Timur Mukanov on that team, and he actually did score pretty well on that team, but he was doing a lot on his own. And again, that guy also just went nowhere. And with Trikozov, he looked bigger and slower, and the skill was gone. He was just a shooter. And it was almost as if they were like, your job is to be the guy that scores our goals, but we also don't really have much to help you out. So go out and do it, kid. Good luck. Get bigger, get more physical, get more heavy. And that's because, like, even you just look at the picture of him when he's drafted compared to now, he looks way bigger, like huskier. And I'm going, that's the last type of player that I would want built like that. I don't understand what the logic is there. And I think that's a big reason they brought him to Chicago when he was 19. I did not think that's what was going to happen. But as far as I can tell, you know. So in Russia, like, it's part of the equation where it's like you are taking on a certain level of risk because a lot of times you don't know. Like, why do you think Matvei Michkov struggled in St. Petersburg and couldn't get time in the KHL? They loan him out to Sochi where they kind of let him be him and play a lot of minutes and instantly looks like a top pick. Right? So it's really strange, but they have a way of doing things that for young players, you're either it's working or it really isn't. But I mean, hey, I haven't seen a ton of Gulyayev. Who knows? It might not be, as Lenny Kravitz said, it isn't over till it's over. Curious your thoughts on winger defense as a whole relative to more premium positions like centers or defense, especially since wingers tend to carry less responsibility defensively compared to centers and defensemen. I mean, on one hand, you're right. In the defensive zone, that's absolutely true. But your wingers are extremely valuable as defenders on a forecheck, right? Like, they're like, to me, my idea of good defense is how much time do you spend in your defensive end? Like, if you are a team that plays 60 minutes and 30 seconds of it is in the defensive zone, I think you're a pretty good team. It's worth exploring how that's possible. And the only way that's physically possible is if you have a good forecheck. And I think your center's job on a forecheck is not to be the guy below the goal line, but to be the guy in support of your forecheckers. If you're running a 2-1-2, right? Like, your wingers are crashing down along the boards, along the half wall, down the goal line, whatever, trying to pin the puck in the offensive zone, trying to cut off those board passes, right? If that's your structure. The center is there to sort of support them, right? Like, if for example, the puck comes around the boards and the winger's along there on the forecheck, the center's behind them in case that puck does come along the boards and the winger doesn't get there. Or the center should be in a position to get there. Or if the puck is coming around and it might come up the middle of the ice, the center's there for the passing lane and watching the offensive zone exit. But the winger's job there is to suppress that breakout, to hound that puck carrier into a turnover, ideally. So in a sense, I see wingers as like your first line of defense. Like, in the defensive zone, they are not that. But in the offensive zone and arguably even in the neutral zone, they are your first line of defense. Then I think your center is the second line of defense and your defense are the defense. And your center kind of floats up and down from offensive zone to defensive zone and everything in between, kind of chipping in wherever necessary and being just a great skater who can attack in the neutral zone, attack along the defensive zone blue line, you know, support guys in front of the net if a defenseman goes into the corner, get into the bumper spot, block that shooting lane, whatever you want, you know, depends. So, like, is that less of a premium job as a defensive player, I would say? I mean, if you have slow wingers, if you have a slow set of wingers that can't forecheck and they're not very physical and they're very skilled, then yeah, it's not very, like, they don't bring a ton of value in that key area. And they're just there for when the puck is on their stick. But in terms of centers and defensemen, like, I get it. Those are premium positions, but I think every position, if you think about it the right way, every position is very valuable. You know? Like, teams overlook wingers because they perceive them as not very valuable. But I think they're very valuable. And I think that the way that they're valuable is, like, in the easy, like, I think they're valuable in the easiest part of the game to defend, if that makes sense. Like a dump and chase, for example, or you dump it in and go for a change and your wingers are fresh off the bench. A dump and chase in that environment, if you have wingers who are there on the forecheck and pin them in the offensive zone from that point, they are playing defense. And that type of defense is the easiest way to defend because the opponent hasn't gotten set up. The opponent hasn't gotten a transition going, let alone gotten the puck even in the defensive zone. So who cares about your defenseman then? Who cares about your center in that specific line of thought, right? So it all just depends on which way you slice it. Personally, I think centers are extremely valuable because the way I perceive the position to be played requires extremely good skaters, extremely good pass vision, extremely good skill to knock down passes from defensemen and good reads along the boards to knock down loose pucks and get involved in lanes. Like, that is very valuable. Like, I'm not saying that I would take a center over a winger in terms of positional value. Like, I see a center as an extremely, if you have a bad center, if you have a center that can't move the puck or can't skate or can't hit or can't whatever, what are they doing? What are they there for? Right? Wingers, it's like, okay, if I have a guy who has a lot of skill, I can survive if they're not the best forechecker. I can survive if they're parked at the blue line in the defensive zone, right? Because, you know, like, look at Gavin McKenna. He's like the epitome of that. He's an okay forechecker, but he's not a physical player. He's not doing much in the defensive zone, but that's not what you play him for, you know? That's not his job. So it all depends. It just all depends. And in the draft, often the guys that do slip and fall and are the ones that you just go, I'll take this guy because they are wingers that I could see blasting my opponent on the forecheck and making their life miserable while also having some skill and finish and jam and stuff that I need. Because the more I do that, the more I have that forecheck that's repeatable with guys like this. Like, it's why I had Teddy Stiga so high. Because it's like, the more I have those guys just playing that first line of defense role, the easier I have. You know what I mean? I'm trying to talk myself into Carroll pairing well with Fox to cope with the Rangers taking him. I mean, that's an awfully big job you're giving Carson Carroll's. Look, I think Carroll's would be a fine fit with the Rangers if I'm really honest about the types of players that I think do well in with the Rangers. I would rather Carroll's than like Viggo Bjork because I don't really know if the Rangers would handle Viggo Bjork particularly well, or Mathis Preston or Xavier Villeneuve. Like, I don't think that would be a fit. But Carroll's, with the physicality and the way he defends and all that, I think they could work with that and turn him into something. And an Adam Fox partner, maybe one day. We'll see. I'm not that quick to jump to that level of a job for him, but it's not impossible. Pretty sure most of the NHL thinks Carolina only won a cup because Florida wasn't healthy enough and Florida's tough to play against. Yeah, probably. I mean, there probably will be excuses from whoever. Like, that's the thing about the internet. It's like, if there's an opinion that you disagree with, it will be shown to you and your face. If there's something, if there's something nice out there, you won't hear about it. Only the nerds want to talk about when nerds are good. When they're outnumbered, there's not much you can do. And so, yeah, there's going to be takes of all kinds. But, if you zoom out, they're a successful team, the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been very successful for a very long time, and they did not have to do it the way that a lot of other teams did it, right? I'd like to see a simulation with Rod coaching the what? Coaching the Leafs to see if he can get to play a full 60. Like, if Rod Brind'Amour can't get Toronto to play a full 60 minutes, then it's over. You cook them. They're done. Put them on the barbecue and char them. That's it. They're toast. Do we have any chats from the short stream here? Yeah. Did you see Misa growing into a franchise one center if the Sharks didn't have Celebrini, or is he just not that good? Seems like his play focuses on picking up existing plays rather than generating out of thin air. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of his style of play. He's just a very smart, well-rounded center. I don't think I really, I could be wrong, but I'd have to look. I don't think I penciled him in as a number one center. I don't think. want to double check that if I put that in my final ranking. It was 2025. And like, you got to keep in mind, he's 18. He was in and out of the lineup. He's brand new to the league. I called him a great restaurant manager once the table's set. That's what I called him. Yeah, I didn't mention any specific sort of job comparison thing, but I don't know. I mean, it's not impossible, but I always thought really, really, really good top 6 passer playmaker style guy. And yeah, like he's 18 playing in the NHL. I think he's a guy that's just going to get better and better and better. He could have a good summer, and I think he could be great next year. And he'll be 19, you know? Cool. But that is kind of how he plays. Based on your data and viewings on Rudolph, what's the best case outcome for him? Do you think he can become an impactful NHL defenseman? He is the player this year where the data is very good, and I do not like the player. I can't look at his numbers. The only thing in his numbers that I can point to and be like, it's not very good, is he is very not interested in defending in the neutral zone. If you have the puck and you're playing the Prince Albert Raiders, you're gonna have the puck in your offensive zone. Like, if you have the puck, you're not being challenged by Daxon Rudolph, really. But when he does get involved, like if you screw up and a loose puck ends up in the defensive zone, he can use his feet and get there pretty well. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But my best case outcome for him, like Jake Bean, like I see a Jake Bean type guy there. You can see the talent with Jake Bean. He's skilled and a very good shooter and can generate offense. But boy, he is like, you know, like the thing again, like it's like Sokolovsky, right? To me, if a scout says to me, even if what you're saying is valid, right? Even if what you're saying is valid, he'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We're going to get there. In my mind, I'm going, okay, why is I don't see how that's possible. Please explain to me how that's possible with these guys and not literally anybody. Like I've seen people call Daxon Rudolph sleepy and then put him in the top 15. I've seen people say they haven't disliked a defenseman as much as Daxon Rudolph and then put him in the top 10. I've seen people say all you have to do is reprogram his brain and he'll play differently and become Evan Bouchard. And I'm like, okay, when I was 18, if I just became Sidney Crosby, I would have been awesome. It's like, why wasn't that a thing people said, right? Like, I don't know. You're basically just saying, like, if this thing happens that is an extremely far way away, then yes, it will be great. With Rudolph, it's like I just, when I watch Daxon Rudolph play and I see him in his own end especially, I just go, I don't know any defenseman, I don't know any coach who's going to be happy with a defenseman that plays this way. I just don't see it. And can he learn how to like deal with that or figure it out? Like, of course, I'm not saying he can't, but he's in my second round. Like, I just don't really have time for it. Like, there's other guys who work harder, play smarter, may not have the shot, may not have the skill level in the offensive zone at the blue line that Rudolph has. They might not have that. But they have they have a floor to them. They have a work rate. They have a compete level where I go, these guys, like Brek Liskey, for example. He's not the offensive player that Daxon Rudolph is, but you watch him play, the pace of his game is high. He's getting involved. He's along the boards. He's greasing it up. He's working the puck off the boards. He's doing the dirty stuff and the tough stuff. And I don't know. Maybe I just saw his worst games this year. Maybe I don't know. At this point, I just have to throw caution to the wind and just go, it is what it is. I've seen the guy a bunch. I know what I think. You can see the report on him if you want. And it just hasn't been it. What was Rochette like? I know he got points in the Quebec League before going to Europe. Yeah, I watched him in his draft year a few games. I mean, he's very, very skilled and definitely very fun to watch. I've seen him here and there in Switzerland over the years. I think he's an intriguing bet, but I don't know about NHL level right now. Like, it's not impossible, but I always had the read on him where it's like he's just one of those guys that I think would thrive on big ice like Switzerland. And like with the speed and the skill level that he's got and being that guy who can, just grab the puck and go. Sure, there's value there with him, and that's kind of neat. So, yeah. Sure would. Oh. My LED bar is falling down. I better fix that. 60 and 69. Give me defensemen the Leafs could take in that range. Let's see here. I'm just doing a simulation. But it's tough. Like the top 50 guys are all off the board. Breck Liskey, if he's there, would be one that I would want. Let's see. Can we look at defensemen here? Yeah. I mean, I really like Verdy Svensk. I feel like in that range you could take him. Lincoln Keene. I like him. He could be a fun guy to watch in Toronto. Yeah. The only one I can definitely point to that I would want in that range based on the guys that are available in this simulator here is Breck Liskey. So there's that. Yeah, I agree. Florida's brain trust is just as nerdy, but Tulski looks like a nerd, so yeah, I agree. How much does Valentini fall because he measured in at 5'9" at the combine? Does he make it to the third? I think it's possible. I think a third round pick could be very possible for him. I think it could be. Outside of that, I mean that, and I think the NHL was pretty sour about him leaving Kitchener the way he did. I think those two things combined, he'll be drafted later than he should. Were you doing your thing in 2016? Can you tell me why Alex Nylander? I did not. In 2016, my work was data only. It was just data and Twitter only. I was just goofing around, basically. I did not really know what I was doing at that point. I don't have any evidence for you on Alex Nylander. I don't know. How about them Knicks? I mean, yeah, that was incredible. Curious or... Oh, we did that. Can the Flames emulate the Canes? Yes. I think the Flames are doing a bit of a different angle than Carolina. They're going more with like fun and speed and skill. Like they're kind of more like the Dubas Leafs. Like that's kind of where the Calgary Flames are headed. Like 2016 Leafs. You know? That's so like the Connor Browns and the Kasperi Kapanens and the like where they were at their best vibes, if you ask me. So yeah, I would say they're a bit like the Canes, but not quite. It's a bit different. They're just going speed, skill, hard work. That's it. How come Jean-Luc Foudy sizzled out? I remember you liked him. Yeah, I mean, I think Foudy for me, on one hand, like it is a lesson. Like he was very small. He's listed at 5'11" now. And he did play in the NHL. He did play games, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, with him, I think the convenient answer is the pandemic got to him. It was the pandemic's fault. But in all seriousness, I think that it's a lesson for me in like just pure speed isn't really enough. Like, I don't remember Jean-Luc Foudy being particularly physical, like, at all. And like having much evidence of like being a forechecker that was very effective, like, at all. And I didn't track any of that information back in those days. I was a lot more basic. And so I think it was like it's like if a player doesn't show much evidence of real, if they're just speedy, like Foodie was a guy who won a lot of races with speed and won a lot of battles with speed. And a lot of his offense was slot playmaking from the wing. And I think he's just one of these guys where he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Like, there's a big part of me that would see what he plays like as a center. Like, he played for Iowa this year. Like, I would bring him in on an AHL deal and give him a tryout at camp and see what he's like as a center. Because maybe there's something there. But I think he is a guy that just is an example of, yeah, like, he's got some really good fundamentals. But I just don't think it's like enough. Like, it's kind of like Philip Machar. It's like they're good players, but like they don't have that much jam to them. They don't have that much ability to play under pressure, like real hard physical pressure. You know, let me see if I can dig up my data on Jean-Luc Foudy actually, because I would be curious to reflect, see what it looks like. I think I have to reinstall my browser later tonight. Guys who win foot races should be able to turn into PKers. I mean, potentially, but like, again, like if they don't have that like physical gene, if that's not really what they do, then like they're not really factoring in all that much. Prospect, yeah, this one I think is what it was. 2020. Hey, Lucas Raymond, look at that. What a guy. Yeah, my database in this one is a mess. Where's Foodie? God, this is ugly. Okay. Yeah, like very little inside driven scoring on his own. Let's do this. There we go. Yeah, like faced a lot of defensive option, like a lot of defensive pressure on his own, in his own end. An extremely good transition player offensively, but again, like the defensive results were not very good. Yeah, like the shot selection was bad. So like he was a risk. I mean, I had him at like 32 or something like that. Like he was like a late first round pick level guy. And at that point on my list, it's like you're taking swings. Yeah, I don't mean physical as in like hits. I don't mean that. I mean more like intense, like pesky, and that like chase after dude, like the guys who chase after you and just pest you. And I don't remember Foodie being that guy. He was much more, I get the puck, I'm going up the ice. I get the puck, I'm going. A lot of slot passes, yeah. Not much passing in general unless it was slot passing, which is very interesting. So just a very limited profile, it seems. Like not much of an off-puck game, wasn't very effective, didn't have the best shot selection. Very high volume playmaker with some decent success. But yeah, like he wasn't really like a dog. And I mean, in the time since I've started tracking a lot more analytics that would be much more informative on that front for him. But yeah, I think that's the lesson, is like, especially with these smaller guys, like they just have to be the energetic guys. Like, and I'm looking at my list for this year. Like there are some smaller guys on here, but it's not that, I don't think it's that out of control. Like I've got Victor Plant, but he is a guy that has that jam. Viggo Bjork is a guy who has that jam. But it's like why I have guys like I mean, he's not small, but like it's why I have guys like Klepov or Hurlbert or even Aram Olsen, like in my second round. Nordmark. Like those are the ones that spook me now. at least as first round picks. You know what I mean? And I mean, I think that as a third round pick in 2020, I don't think Jean-Luc Foudy is the worst pick. You know, like I'm sure you could find guys, yeah, like Alex Laferriere, but I don't think anybody saw that coming. Adam Wilsby, like whatever. Brett Berard, I would say Brett Berard maybe is a guy that I could see being more valuable. Matthew Rempe, Nils Ullmann, Louis Crevier. Like it's not that much, you know. You're not kicking yourself in the third round generally. And honestly, like I would take a look at him, see what's there. Like if I were pro scout, you know, if he's done in Iowa this year, just give him a go. I feel like he's a guy who could go to Europe and like torch it. I feel like that's possible. He could go to the EIHL and score 80 points, or go to Germany and be awesome, you know. But yeah. How many 50-goal seasons will Ivan have? 12. Here you go. Yeah, one for every Ivan, yeah. All right, we're gonna do this and then we're gonna go because it's getting late. Oh, we got one in the chat here. Or in the shorts. Do you think Stenberg's closest comp is Lucas Raymond? Who's Gavin's? I mean, I don't think it's Lucas Raymond. I've just continuously said Seth Jarvis. Like that's the type of player I see out of Stenberg. Lucas Raymond, Gavin McKenna, like Panarin, I think. Like, do you want a good two-way impact point per game guy who can chip in everywhere, maybe not quite point per game, or do you want the guy that might be able to score 100 points, be elite on the power play, skilled as hell, but you sometimes are finding him to be a liability? Which would you rather have? You know, camera 1, camera 2. I don't know. York to Calgary is great, but they have Reshny, Potter, Wittenbach, and Coronado all 5'10". I mean, yes. I mean, I personally am not huge on Wittenbach. I don't think Wittenbach is a sure thing at all. I don't think Cole Reshny is that short anymore. I think he's been remeasured, and I think he's bigger. Yeah, he's listed at 5'11", 180 centimeters. Like, I wouldn't say that's small. He was 5'9" last year. I don't think it's a concern. If you think, I think Bjork would be the smallest one of all of them. But I don't think you should be that concerned. All of these guys have a lot of energy and a lot of FU in their game. Well, at least Reshny, Potter, and maybe Coronado. There's a lot of, you know, at least with Potter, he has, I think, the skill and the finesse to like make up for maybe a lack of that jam. But Reshny, I'm not putting my money against Reshny, and I'm not putting my money against Bjork. I wouldn't want to play against those guys. Those guys are fierce. Like, what if instead the option is draft a bigger guy? I think there are players that are bigger in this draft that are like Ethan Belches has a coach to make him try harder, basically. Like he said at the combine, he's like, I have a guy who's trying to help me like compete more. It's like, okay, I guess, but like, if that's not your game, that's not your game. Like that's the thing too with a guy like Belches. It's like, I've seen him so much. It's like, you don't have to be that. If NHL teams want that out of you, then so be it. But like, I think that's kind of selling yourself a little short. That's not quite what you are. But whatever, I don't know. York's always also probably the best on the list, so you take him and trade one of the others down the line. I mean, if I could sell high on Wittenbach, I probably would see what people would be willing to trade me. But, I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, I think that you just take the guys that you like the most and worry about the problems later. Like, Calgary's not done developing, and they're going to have a lot of picks. They're going to draft other guys. Like, you can draft other big guys. Right? Like, there won't be a Viggo Bjork, I don't think, at like 30. But there will be a William Holkinson, or, you know, you could draft Adam Anderson, who's a big center that can skate and whatever. You could get him in the second round and not bat an eye about it. And you kind of feel a little better about it. Like, if you play your cards right in the NHL draft, you can do good things. You can fill a lot of gaps and go, you know what? Yes, we're a little spooked about the size with the guy that we drafted here, but we also have good players that we like here and here and here, and they kind of make up for that. Okay, so you know, it depends. I don't know, but it's not something I really think about too much. I would say if you like the kid, you like the kid, and the last thing you want is to skip over Viggo Bjork and go, well, Wittenbach didn't work out, Potter didn't work out, and we didn't draft Bjork because we had those guys, and he just won a Stanley Cup, or he just beat us in a playoff series, or whatever. Like, that's the last thing you want. And you were like, he was higher on our board. We really, really liked him, but we had other players who were also small, but they were 20 years old. You just don't want that. If you like him, you like him. That's just, and you worry about the problems as they show up. Like, I don't know. I've always found that anticipating problems gets you nowhere in this, in my opinion. Better to have an embarrassment of riches. It's better to have an embarrassment of riches than to always be dreaming you had more stuff, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, unless we have anything in the shorts, I think we're going to call it a day. Thanks very much. This was fun. And I will say, like, if you genuinely just don't believe that a guy like Bjork is the best pick there, I can understand that. I get that. I think there is a legitimate sort of source of concern in his game that definitely could hold him back. But again, I in my philosophy, I'm always thinking about like what they can do. Where could they be, right? As the way they are now, let's see where they can go. And I think Bjork he could be really good, but he's got a way to go. You know, he's not there yet, but he's pretty darn good. Anyway, we're going to go. We'll be back Thursday. Again, if you missed it and you're still here, the mock draft response, the mock draft is registration is public. Whoops. That is the, nope. That is the wrong link. Let me post the right link. There you go. You can use that link and sign up if you want. It's in a week. Please be on time. Please be respectful and don't bail. If you do need to bail, please just tell me. But we have lots of spots left. You can probably take your time and decide if you want. And we have a reserve list if you don't make it. So we'll be back Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. as usual. Rankings are coming. Report tomorrow, report Wednesday, report Friday, and then that's it. Then it's draft week, so we're getting there. Anyway, thanks for showing up. Thanks for joining me. It was fun, and we'll see you on another time. See you later on the Menjay or whatever. I don't know. Okay, bye.